Hello everyone, today's poem is 摸鱼儿.雁丘词 by Yuan Haowen. So Yuan Haowen was Jin dynasty people, and from his name, the family name Yuan, we can know he belongs to the ethnic race of Xianbei. Only from his family name. It's a Chinese name. They adapt to all the things of the Chinese, and from the outlook, from any other things, you cannot difference a Xianbei people from a Chinese people in the time of Yuan Haowen's time, which is the Jin dynasty, the Golden Dynasty. That's the basic background of the poem. And for the time, the Jin dynasty, that's also a very unique dynasty. The Jin dynasty, or the Golden Dynasty, was founded or ruled by the ethnic race of Zhouchen, or Nuzhen in Mandarin. They are of the same ethnic race as the people who founded the last dynasty of China, the Qing dynasty. They are of the same ethnic race. Secondly, the Jin dynasty, or the Golden Dynasty, was the first dynasty that built their capital in Beijing. So that's very naturally for the Qing dynasty, the last dynasty of China. They chose Beijing as the capital as well. So that's the two most significance of the Jin dynasty. And also, like the Qing dynasty, the Jin dynasty or the Golden Dynasty, they very quickly, when they get to south or to the line of the Song dynasty at the time, they changed their language and laws or cultures to the Chinese things. So they follow the Chinese culture, not their own culture. So that's why we have this poem. It's in the last 20 years of the Jin dynasty, before it was destroyed or occupied by the Genghis Khan, by the Yuan dynasty. And the poet, he's on his way to the Imperial Exam of the Jin dynasty. And on the midway, he saw something and he wrote this poem. So because of the Jin dynasty, they follows everything Chinese. So thus, they still keep the Imperial Exam, the language, and also the Hanzi, the characteristics of the Chinese. So also, of course, they write poems as part of the exam as well. Okay, let's see the poem. This is a very long poem, but no worry. It's quite simple, straightforward, no guesswork, like the most classic Chinese poems. Very straightforward, and also with the help of the short articles in front of the poems, which is also by the poet Yuan Haowen. We know exactly the time, the situation, the story, and the place. Everything's very straightforward and clear, no guesswork. Okay, let's look at the very short article which briefing why and how the poet write this poem. 乙丑岁, that's the Chinese numbering for the years, and basically it's the year 1208. And also we know it's in the autumn's time because the Imperial Exam was held in the autumn's time. The poet Yuan Haowen himself was on the way to Taiyuan city, where the Imperial Exam was held. Bingzhou is the Taiyuan city. And in the midway, he encountered a hunter with a wild goose captured and killed. And the hunter told the story that weird things. He captured this wild goose, and the other wild goose already escaped, but he or she didn't leave, and singing sadly, flying around, didn't leave. And finally, that escaped wild goose rushed to the ground from the sky, of course, rushed to the ground and kill him or kill herself. And so the poet heard the story and was touched by the story. He bought the goose from the hunter and buried the goose. I think the couple alongside of the river of Fen, so that's on his midway, a big river. We will have something about it later. And he made the tomb with piling up the stones to make it like a very small hill, the typical Chinese tombs, and name that tomb as Yanqiu. Yan, the goose, Qiu is small hills. So he named that tomb as Yanqiu, and that's why the title of this poem comes from. 雁丘词. 词 is the songs with predefined music and writing patterns, and this title, 摸鱼儿 was the title's name, the rhythm's name, but from the Tang Dynasty, but actually the music part has been lost till this time, and but the writing pattern and a lot of the rules still keeps. He was just wrote the lyrics, sort of the lyrics toward the pattern, toward the rules, and but this cannot be sung as which is in the Tang Dynasty because the music part was lost. And 雁丘词 is also telling it's the writing a song toward its predefined patterns, and then the name for that pattern is Moyuer. And also 同行者多为赋诗. So it's not only the poet himself write poems toward this thing or this story or this goose. He also has some of the companies, and they all write poems toward these tombs of the goose, of the stories. And but the last two sentences, 旧所作无宫商，今改定之. So this is a song or poem rewrite toward some of the old song he made. So in that very moment, poet Yuan Haowen write a song, and then some years later he rewrite the songs because the very original song was not quite followed the written patterns. So finally he wrote this song, this poem, per the rulings, per the patterns of the Moyuer, the name of the written pattern, the rhythms. Okay, basically that's the short article telling you why this and how this poems comes from. 问世间情为何物，直教生死相许. It's a very long poem, so I won't go through sentence by sentence. I just focus on the very key point and the basic meanings. So, touched by the story of the wild goose, the couple, the poet raised the question at the very beginning, and this sentence is the most famous one. He was so touched. Just imagine, 世间 is the place of the people, the world. So he was asking to all the people, hey people, or the people in the world, what is love? 情 is love, and or feeling, and here is more about the love. The love, even worse, of giving or promising the life, your own life, to the other part. That means between the loved couple. That's a hard translation, so let's see the word. 直教. 直 is worthy of. 教, so let the life to promised to others. So that means the life is not important, or your life is given to your beloved. So this meaning actually expressed through the human's history about the love, the value of love, or the love, how to promise the love to the others, to the beloved, to your beloved. But let's try to read the sentence again, try to feel the strength or the furious maybe is involved. 问世间情为何物，直教生死相许. So use the question and asking around is a very, very classic technique. It started roughly more than 2,000 years from now by Qu Yuan. He's asking to the heaven, to the God, for a lot of questions. So since then, there's a lot of poems. They use this technique to ask to the God. And for this poem, they didn't ask to the God, to the heaven. He's asking the people in the world, the people around. So this makes the relationship between the readers and the poet as the same level. And when you read the poems, read the sentences, you just feel the same alike, or you just pretend you are the poet. You are asking the same question now, because love is for everyone. Before this poem, they are always asking to the heaven is because the poet is all the noble people or the kings. The content or the subject is all about the fate of the country or something big. And through 1,000 years of evolution, now the poem becomes a daily life for average people. Thus, we have this poem, and thus the poet asking to normal people. Thus, the poet asking the question of love, normally not appeared in the big topic poems. So using the question at the start, it lacks the poet himself alone is asking the questions, but actually this arouses the question in the reader's mind as well. So it brings the reader into the situation very deeply and directly. So that's the wonderful start. And also love, as I said, is about everyone. So let's see the followings. 天地南北双飞客，老翅几回寒暑。欢乐去，离别苦，就中更有痴儿女. So this is depicting the life of the wild goose. At the common sense, Chinese all know the goose fly to the southern China in the autumn time and fly back in the springtime to the North China. Year after year, they keep this routine until they getting old and until they died. So there's so happiness, there's sadness, and also among all those wild goose flying back and forth, there is a couple, foolish couple, described in this poem. Okay, let's go to the second paragraph. 君应有语，渺万里层云，千里暮雪，只影向谁去? So before this paragraph, all the sentences is per the poet's perspective. So that's all the poets writing what his feelings. And with this sentence, he changed the role. He pretend to be as the goose killing himself or herself. And he just try to figure out or pretend the goose saying, 君应有语, that means you should have said. The you refers to the goose, suicide. 渺万里层云，千里暮雪. So this is a repeating of the last paragraph. So because in the autumn time, they are actually flying to the south, on the way flying to the south, this wild goose. And there's 10,000 miles of clouds to fly, and there's thousands of mountains with snow mountains to cross over during their trip to the South China. But just with only myself, 只影, the single shadow, which means the single goose, himself or herself. How can I go? So that's this sentence is the poet pretend or figure out the goose singing. So with his beloved captured, killed by the hunter, and escaped wild goose, said, there's still 10,000 miles of clouds to fly. There's 10,000 snow mountains to cross over. Just with only himself, what the use, what for to fly over all these things with him alone? Okay, the next paragraph. 横分路，寂寞当年箫鼓，荒烟依旧平楚。招魂楚些何嗟及，山鬼暗啼风雨. So this actually is a quotation to the Han Dynasty 1,000 years ago before the poet. And 招魂楚些, so that's the song to summon the ghosts. So in the old Chinese believing is the well-satisfied life will end up somewhere in the heavens, but someone, they still have a will not fulfilled before he or her death. He will be a ghost linger around on the ground. So the people still alive need to sing some of the songs or do some of the things to make that lingering ghost to be the wish to be fulfilled. So the lingering ghost will return the place where he or she should be. And in the Han Dynasty, one of the emperor has doing a very big event in this area. So, and the poet just expressed the feelings that all the signs of that huge ceremony or events to summon the lingering ghost by the Han Emperor, all the signs or the buildings has vanished. It's just like a wild place now. So this explains, no matter it's an emperor or whatever, how glorious or how magnificent it is. Through the years, it's all vanished. Okay, let's go further. 天独也，未信于婴儿燕子具黄土。千秋万古，未留待骚人。狂歌痛饮，来访雁丘处。天独也, the heaven, the sky, the god will be very jealous at the suicide couple, or the couple I buried here. And nobody will know the emperor things, all the magnificent things, only the beloved couple of the wild goose. And the normal birds, like the swallows, the earls, they will be just become a dust after years of dying. They are quite normal. Nobody will remember them. But this couple of wild goose. So 千秋万古. So it will be kept 1,000 years, 10,000 years. They're still there. And it's kept or remained for the poet like me. 1,000 normally refers to the scholars, the people who can write poems. And 狂歌痛饮. So the people in the future, for 1,000 years, 10,000 years, the poets still come here. They will sing wild songs, they will drink wines, and they just come here to this 雁丘, the tomb for the wild goose, to express their feelings or to express their condolence, whatever. So all is about love. So there's a lot of techniques employed in these poems, but what I think is the first sentences. It raised the ultimate question to the mankind, and this question was asked from the very beginning of the human history of the human and till today, and will be asked in the future, never stop. And the most wonderful of this poem is the wordings, though it was with such a strength, such a power, and also the fury I think there should be to ask these questions. And you can compare this poem with the contemporary, the same time poems in the Song dynasty. The love normally is between person. It's quite private. It's quite sophisticated, and that's the normal way when we think about love, and that's the things expressed in the Song dynasty. So even you depict the something of the surroundings, the scenic views to help to express the love. Normally, it's the things surrounding you. But in this poem, you can see the space is vast. It's between the South China and North China, because the wild goose flying back and forth through the snow mountain, over the snow mountains, through 10,000 miles of clouds. So that's huge space. And also, he also recalled the Han Emperor, Han Dynasty Emperor. That's 1,000 more years past. And also he look forward to the future. 1,000 years, 10,000 years past, they think the love will be still exist. So it's so different, huge different from the Song poems. Different people have different flavor, but basically, that's the flavor, basic flavor distinguished between the northerners of China and the southerners of China. And this is a very typical northerners flavor。问世间情为何物，直教生死相许。Okay, that's for today. Bye bye.